Jacques Van Jaarsveld.
Oh, yes.
Thanks for having me, bro.
Absolutely, man. I've been looking forward to chatting to you, eh?
Yes, I've been so excited to come and set up in your shop. And this is Jacques' shop that we're sitting in. He's been very gracious to have us. And yeah, maybe we can start with introducing yourself. Tell the viewers and the listeners a little bit about you.
Nice, man. Yeah, so my name is Jacques Van Jaarsveld. I own a store called DroneGear, and we've walked a long road with the store. We've been around for just over 10 years. We started off as a store dealing with just action cameras, and quickly it changed from that aspect where action cameras were being put on these drones, and it was a new thing for us, and we didn't know what to do and how to do this. And luckily for us, we changed direction at the right time, and we evolved with the drones, and we were there from the first primitive little drone that flew for 4 minutes, and
Yes,
now these
remember
things fly in the rain for like an hour, and it's incredible. So we've been very fortunate to be part of that journey, and we've learned so much, and it's been a long road to get to where we are, but we've loved every minute of it, eh? And we're very fortunate to be around still,
Yeah. Cool. And what else have you... So is this all you do? I know the answer to that, but I'm just goading you into giving us some...
So we actually come from a background where we were involved in a couple of businesses.
Cool.
And some of them were not connected to this industry at all. Some of them were connected to the short-term insurance and the financial services industry, and we did that as a profession because you got to put food on the table, and I think we all got, at some point in our career, we all get thrown into a corporate kind of environment, and both my wife and I spent 10 years in that, and we both enjoyed it, and we're the kind of people that kind of grab onto things and make the most of it, and we enjoyed it. But it got to a point where we wanted something different, and you feel like you wake up and you want to do something different. And I've always said that within reason, when you get to that point and you don't absolutely love what you do, you've got to change direction. And it becomes more of a thing where you've got to be loyal to yourself more than anything else. Because this is where we spend most of our time, is when we work. And so filming for me has always been that something that I've loved as a kid, and as a sport fanatic growing up. I loved the adventurous side of things, and that's where the GoPro cameras came in, and that quickly evolved to drones, and then we got some real cameras, and we learned how to use those, and it's just been the most fun, hey?
That's awesome.
And so the filming side is a big part of what I still do, and I think the biggest thing is always finding that balance. But for me, there's two brands really. There's DroneGear as a store, and then there's Airborne Optics as a filming solution.
Okay.
And that I do with a good friend and business partner, Steve Dorrington, that you know.
Yeah, we do.
And we try and get up to as much trouble as we can when we do get let out. And
let out the cage.
And we love it, eh? I think we did some projects with you guys, and we absolutely loved it. Eh? We enjoy every minute out.
Yeah, so that's where we met.
That's exactly
Well,
it.
we met before that, but that's...
Yes.
We did we spent like 7 days shooting stuff.
Man, and that was awesome,
It was an absolute joy, bro. Yeah, you and Steve are really great to work with.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
It was
Thank
lots
you.
of fun.
No, it was great. Eh? And I think also like the passion of both these businesses is what keeps it going, because it's built into you. It's part of your DNA.
Yeah.
And I think if you want to deal with people, whether it's customers in the retail environment or in the filming environment, you've got to be connected to people, and you've got to enjoy being with people.
Yeah.
And I think that's something for all of us that we enjoy, and that we make it easy, and no, I love that, eh?
That's cool. That's very cool. And how long have you guys been here, your shop?
So we've been here 1.5 years.
Oh wait, and let's also clarify, where exactly is here?
So we're in the Watercrest Shopping Centre in Waterfall, Durban, KZN, and we were across the road at the Link Hill Centre for many years, and it was so funny to see how we were so connected to our suburb. And when we moved over, guys were saying to us, hey, we're so excited to have you here. And we've never had something like this here. And I'm saying, guys, I've been across the road. and it just shows you again, people are, we have habits and we stick within those habits and routines and we don't move outside of that often.
Yeah.
And that was actually quite scary to realize that, that we were 5-6 years, we were across the road and, customers wouldn't know. And we were right there. And this is how you learn in business, you pay your school fees as you go along. And it's been wonderful to be a part of the Watercress Centre. And we've really enjoyed being in a centre like this where we can invite people in, where it's a more exciting offering in the sense where it caters for the whole family, from fashion to tech needs to entertainment. And for us that was just where we needed to be. We needed to be in an environment like that that's also open 7 days a week. That for us was a big one. We used to trade only 6 days a week, and we grew to that point where we needed to be around for 7 days a week.
Okay.
So that's been exciting for us and a big learning curve.
How was the transition moving here from the other side in terms of like what it looked like, how long it took to settle in?
Man, it was so funny, I think when you in a centre for as long as we were part of Link Hill Centre, you figure the routine out quite nicely. So Monday to Fridays, you've got X amount of people that you need in the store, and on a Saturday, one of us, we took turns and we were in the store half day till about 1 o'clock, and that was it. When we moved over, we suddenly realized that not only is trading hours a lot different, but we actually needed a whole lot more people. So we went from being 3 people in the other store to being like 6-7 people here. Which was very scary, because when you've moved over and you're paying a higher rent and there's more expenses, it's so intimidating. Yes, exactly. And at the same time, like for us, the people in our store is everything to us. They're immediately part of the family, and our customers also, they can relate with it, because customers come in and they go, it's so relaxing. They can see the energy. And to have that energy is what made us different. So now all of a sudden we're in a place where we're working 7 days a week and the energy is not there. And everybody's getting frustrated and everyone's making mistakes because we're working longer hours. So it took us probably a good 6 months to work that routine out, where we completely broke ourselves down to the point where we were dead tired and we could not figure it out. And also, even up to now, weekends for us is very quiet here, whereas during the week we are extremely busy, which is strange, because a lot of people say to us, first of all, we don't ever see you in the store, and I say, listen, we hide behind those walls there, in our back office, and that's where the stuff happens. So we're an online store. We do repairs. We do a lot of courier deliveries. We do a lot of collections. And logistically, there's a lot happening here. So we've got 4 staff members in the back of the store at all times running logistics. And then we've got 1 or 2 people in the front at all times. And then weekends, we try and give everybody a little bit of a rest. And that's where we've got 2 fully trained staff members that rotate all the time to make sure that we give the right advice. Because the stuff that we deal with as well, our products are a little bit different, And they're expensive toys, so you want to make sure that when you buy stuff, you're getting out of them what you set out to invest in, because it becomes a massive investment. So for us, it was a massive learning curve, but we've gotten into the routine now where I feel like we've got that perfect balance where I've got great people in the store and everybody gets enough rest. And it was always so important to me that everybody works one weekend, they need to have 2 weekends off and maybe hit another one. The situation where it was 1 weekend on, 1 weekend off, it was okay, but it was never good enough. I need guys to show up and love what they do, just like we love what we do. And to find that balance does sometimes cost a little bit extra. But it goes way further than that. You know, we're not aiming to be here just the end of the year. We want to be here in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
And to find that longevity in an industry like this, you've got to have your eyes on the prize the whole time. And it's sometimes a little bit overwhelming, but you learn. And I'm very fortunate that I work with my wife in the same business.
Oh,
And
that's awesome.
And I can tell you that when I was doing this on my own, I was basically at one stage running a drone business, but I was doing filming and photography in order to earn a salary to keep the drone business open.
Okay.
Because the passion was always there and the realization was always there to say, this is something that'll work. But to get it to that point, I've got to be in two places.
Yeah.
And that's tough because
that's very difficult.
It's so hard to work 4 or 5 years in a business and you go, right, now it's running. Now you got to choose. And it's a good problem to have, but at the same time, I started realizing I'm dropping the ball on both sides of my offering here. And you've got to eventually say, listen, I'm committing to one thing, and this is how I'm doing it. And if you want to be flexible, you've got to have a team that's good and capable to help you with that. So when my wife walked into this business, things for us completely changed, and she had a very different mindset, and it actually took me by surprise completely, because all of a sudden here's someone, but this is it, you know, I all of a sudden realized here's this businesswoman that I've worked with my whole life just about, because in all the other businesses we were involved in, we always worked together.
Okay. So
I got to see her in a professional way throughout the years develop, and she was always somebody that was still learning, that was being mentored, that was going towards a goal within that industry. And all of a sudden I see someone that's really just come into her own from all these years of taking bits and pieces from all these different industries. And she came in and she dominated like this male orientated industry.
Yeah.
It was mind blowing. I was loving it.
Yeah.
I was sitting in hard lockdown in COVID, and she said to me, listen, I need your help. And I said, no problem. What do you need? She said, you've got no work because you're a filmmaker and a photographer. And obviously we can't travel anywhere. So your income's disappeared. She said, but you know, I've recently stepped into the drone industry and into the store, and I need to put head down and work within this industry. And I said to her, well, I don't know how you're going to do that, but let's give this a go. And man, she would go into that little office at home and close that door for 8 hours, and I'd see her again at the end of the 8 hours, and she'd go
putting in the hard work.
And she was putting in the hard work.
Wow.
And
that's amazing.
I just saw a different side to her that I haven't seen before, and dedication on a different level, where she's gone into an industry, like I said, that was male orientated, that she knew very little about, and she went into it and kind of like turned things around massively.
That's awesome.
And that for me was like a wow moment. Like, cool. I love that. So
that's awesome.
So that's also when I came back into the business with a little bit more commitment.
Okay.
And I had to forfeit a bit of that time on the filming side. But it's so funny that when you see a leader like that I saw in my wife, it's so hard to not buy in and say, let's do this. You
need someone up front
100%.
giving it horns. Yeah.
And it was incredible. And I thought, this is it, you know.
Awesome, man.
So it was exciting, and it took me by surprise, because I didn't have that light at the end of the tunnel. I was sitting in probably the darkest time of my life, where I would never forget it. I turned 40 in lockdown.
Wow.
And I sat there that day and I went,
party.
Yeah, and I sat there that day and I thought, I've got no 40th party. I'm bummed about this. But more importantly, we all analyze our lives and we go, well, what am I doing, you know? What am I doing with my life? And you sit there and you've got too much time on your hands, and you kind of judge yourself. Where am I? You know, where am I at in my life? And that was quite interesting. So to see my wife kind of do what she did inspired me again at a time where I felt like, you know, I'm locked at home I'm so used to being out with people all the time, and now all of a sudden I can't be there. It was something else.
So you're a major extrovert.
Major.
Just understating, but
100%.
yeah. Okay. So we have a bunch of guys. We have a bunch of guys washing the windows here.
I'm loving this.
It's amazing. But so how did I'd be really interested to hear how did the transition of your wife Jody coming into the business, kind of pulling it all together, how did that affect your marriage and your relationship? In what ways? How did you manage that? You know, I some people are obviously just really good at navigating that space, but some people would struggle.
Yes.
So how did you guys navigate that as a married couple, running a business?
So the funny thing is, I met my wife just before she turned 15, and like I said, you know, like years later. I mean, this was in 1999 that I met her, and we're in 2023 now, and that's how long I've known her. And you know, during this time, we've worked together a lot, with the exception of maybe the first 3 years that I knew her. We almost worked together our whole lives, and it was so funny how I think you either built that way or you're not. And we've been very fortunate that we can have a good relationship inside of working hours and outside of that. Okay. And I think sometimes it's also challenging because when you've got stress, when you've got all these things that are at home, you bring that with you to work. So it's that side of things is always challenging.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think you can so intimately trust that person in your business. And for me, that was a massive, gaping hole that I had in the business before. Okay. Is that you don't know when you're not in your business what is going on, and you need people there that you can trust. And unfortunately for me, again, school fees meant that, you know, I was let down with some of the people that were involved in my businesses, you know, on the insurance side, on the drone business side. And it was for a certain period of time after you go through these things, it's very hard to then trust people again.
Yeah, it's very difficult.
Because I'm one of those people that I open up and I'm all in or nothing, you know? And I always try and see the best in people, even if they don't see it themselves. And I think, you know, often people say that's not the greatest thing because you're very vulnerable. But for me, it's just, I think it's the way your personality is. Yeah. And for me, I've always said to my wife, I said it's sometimes tough when you financially have to suffer from those consequences. But when I put my head on my pillow, I go, you know, I try to do the right thing today. And sometimes for me, that's way more important than, you know, the financial gain, which is always short term anyway. Yeah. So I'd much rather say, you know what, this didn't work out. It's not because I didn't fully commit or I didn't go into it with the right intentions, but you, as much as you learn from it, still now today, you know, I become best mates with the guys I work with, and I think sometimes that's maybe also what makes it hard, because when you get let down hard, you know. Yeah,
because you're just that much closer to them.
100%.
And you've established that much more trust.
100%.
So how do you breed, like, I mean, I've stepped into working environments where the employee-employee relationship is defined very much by distrust. Whether or not it's a legitimate thing, but by default there's that. So how do you, in what you guys do, how do you build trust with your employees while also establish, I mean, I'd imagine you'd still want to establish, like, I am actually employing you, but we're mates kind of thing. Like,
yes.
Just talk us a little bit through that.
So this is where the balance comes in as well between myself and Jody, is we can play that good cop, bad cop kind of situation quite nicely. You know, like for me, when I need to be, you know, the guy that comes in and deals with the situation, I'm there. And I think the employees also know we get to a point and then it's, we have a serious chat, we move on from there and off we go.
Okay.
But 99% of the time, I'm there to create an environment that I feel is not necessarily out there too often. And by getting to know the staff properly before we employ the guys full-time, that has been one of the things that's probably the best solutions for us going into it.
So getting to know them before you employ
100%.
them.
So we work with all our guys and we work on a contract basis and we say to the guys, listen, we've got a set period of time and we want you to get to know us and we want to get to know you.
Yeah.
And this is really to make sure that you feel like you fit in with us. And if you don't fit in, and this is something that's for me has really opened my eyes, is understanding that a business like this has got 4 or 5 different, mechanics to working properly. And each one of those elements of the business work differently and require a different personality in order to work efficiently.
Yeah.
And I've arrived at that stage of my life where I've made 100% peace with the fact that I'm fantastic with certain things and I'm not so good with certain other things.
It's such a game changer.
And for me, that was like one of the moments of my life where it's like, this is okay. I'm not good at paperwork. I'm not good at this. I don't want to do that. You know what I mean?
Paperwork.
And then you get the gem that'll come out and go, hey, I like paperwork. And I go, you know what? I've got a great place for you. and I think for me, that's what it's been about. We found guys that are good at certain department and we've identified certain departments within our business where we go, right, we need this personality for this position. We need this personality for that position. And giving all our staff members this opportunity to be involved with the business without any commitment, where they can go, listen, I'm unhappy about this. Let's change it. Is it something we can change? Is it something we can't change? We have a very open discussion, and relationship. Awesome. And I know a lot of, very successful business owners that are not like that, that'll say, listen, it's my way or no way. And I think it just becomes like a personality thing again. Yeah. For me, I was in that corporate world for 15 odd years and I was putting on the shirt and tie and I get to wear T-shirts every day and I'm going, listen, man, I've already won, eh? Yeah. I'm wearing a T-shirt today. Exactly. I feel comfortable enough to deal with someone in a professional environment where they're getting the best advice in an industry that is fun and exciting. And, hopefully we do enough there to show that, one of the mottos in our business is it doesn't matter whether you spend 1 rand in our store or 100,000 rand. You're the same quality person and the same quality customer to us.
So good, bro.
And you know what? I always say to the youngsters that's involved in my store, we want to make sure that you guys become the best people over and more importantly than the best at business or whatever. Because at the end of the day, we want to create a culture that changes the way the future is going to work.
Okay. And
what I loved about grabbing a coffee with you a couple of minutes ago is we get to Spur and we go, right, we'll take 2 coffees. And you went that step further where you said to the lady, thanks for that and have a awesome evening and thanks for, I love that, that's everything that I'm about and my thought process. And to see even my little kids, you get a delivery from someone at the door and they go, be careful out there and drive safely. And that shows me we're doing something right. Yeah. And 100%. that excites me, because we're changing the negativity in the world and we're changing the way.
Completely, bro.
There's so much to complain about, but there's also so much to be excited about.
For me, it's so important for us to see the human before we see anything else.
Yeah.
Even when I'm dealing with clients and when I'm dealing with a teller or dealing with a car guard, you got to see the human
100%,
before you see anything else, because what you're seeing is very surface level.
Yeah.
And they may have really just had a really shit day.
I just wanted to say, the hardest thing is you don't know.
We don't know.
Where are they in their life? I've been in places in my life where I'm down and out, and I drive up to the robot, and somebody hoots at you for some random reason. You in thought, you missed that light by half a second. Somebody hoots at you, and it just sends you over the edge where you're like, geez, maybe today's not my day. And it changes the whole way that your day rolls out from there.
Yeah.
And I think that for me, again, it's a reminder that we're all in different stages and places in our life, not just financially, but emotionally.
Yeah, we all have very different lives.
Absolutely.
It doesn't and we gotta, I see it all the time, and it just makes me, I see red when people treat other people like garbage. And it's like, come on, man, you don't know what's going on.
100%.
Just be a decent human and treat that person like a human, because they are.
Yes.
And it's actually harder
Yeah.
to be mean and to be an asshole to someone
Sure.
than what it is to be just kind of nice.
100%.
Because at the core of each person, we are actually, however badly damaged, in quotes, we are actually at the core a human. And by default, by being a human, we are actually filled with kindness.
Yeah.
And we are decent, but sometimes we just got to dig a little bit beyond ourselves.
Yeah.
And do that. And Bru, I think that's like hearing you talking about the staff and even customers. Even when I've come in, before I've gotten to know you, like I've always felt like heard and seen and understood coming to you guys. And yeah, well done, Bru. That's
man.
really awesome.
I think the hardest thing also is when you've got a brand. Our brand is, like you said earlier, it's brick and mortar. It's still in a physical store, and people walk in and they're looking for an experience. I think the toughest thing is when you, as a normal human being, make a mistake, no matter what it is, no matter who it is in the business. I always say to the guys, all you can do is go back and sincerely say to the guys, listen, it's a mistake. We try and learn from it. Because at the end of the day, that's all you can do. You can't undo what's been done. You can learn from it. We've learned a lot, we've made a lot of mistakes, and we keep making mistakes. And we've got this bulletproof system in place that keeps bringing up these little gaps, and it shows you, you'll never stop learning. And I think also the sooner you make peace with that, and
so key, bro.
100%. And I think, the toughest situations really for me is when I know who my staff are, like where they come from, what their situation is, where they are in their life at the moment. And then that happens, and to see that, that doesn't always go to plan. Customers upset and angry, and I also don't know where they're at in their lives. And then you want to be defensive, you want to jump in for your staff and say, well, I know these guys are doing the best they can. And I think, though, that for us is probably the most difficult situation, is to try and stay level-headed and, protect the brand and look after the brand like we want to.
Yeah.
We eat and breathe and live, what we do.
Yeah.
And if we get one good review every now and again, we always brag about it and we enjoy it with each other.
Shoot it to the moon.
100%,
right?
And we use that one praise to get over the next 3 or 4 tough situations and to learn again.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing, is to realize that not everybody's been through 10 years of this or however long to develop a thick skin, like sometimes it's tough, and especially I think the youngsters we've got in our store, they do a fantastic job, man. I mean, to not have the experience to deal with it, I don't know if I could have done it back in the day,
Yeah. I think it's like what you're doing, teaching the younger guys coming through to do business humanely. There's so many people out there that think to be a successful businessman, you've got to be this ruthless, arrogant,
100%,
very domineering person. And it's like, actually, maybe that'll get you going in the short run.
Yes.
But long-term, kindness always pays.
100%,
Like kindness
yeah.
is always the long-term game. And yeah, you guys are nice.
Hey man, you know what?
You guys are nice, and
Well-
you really are building a really awesome brand.
Oh,
And-
that's awesome to hear,
Yeah,
man.
and just
you know?
like your brand is not the black and whites with, the word drone gear on it, but your brand is your experience. And I know, as for me, my experience coming in here, my brand experience with you guys is always great.
That's awesome
and,
to hear, man.
That's really cool, Roo. So well done.
Nice, man. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, and it's, you know what, we always want to learn, and I think the biggest thing is, like, don't you feel like sometimes you walk into a business and you can feel when you're not having that great
Oh,
experience?
yeah.
You
You walk
think-
through. Sometimes you walk through a door and you're like, "Oh, what's going on?"
Yeah,
in
but
here?
and then I end up meeting the owner in that business, and you think, well, now I can see you. It kind of filters down, doesn't it?
Completely.
And it's always so important to try and find that balance where it's like, listen, we're not out here playing games, but we're not, strict as can be either. You got to find that middle ground where everybody's left to achieve the best within their ability, and that you create an environment where you lure that out, and you see people grow tremendously. And for me, the hardest thing is understanding and accepting that most of our guys, especially while they're in a sense studying and they're still involved in universities and all these extra teachings and learnings, they spend 3 years with you and they move on.
Yeah.
And that's hard because
It's hard.
you see them
I can imagine.
you see them mature so much, and we always feel so proud when we see these guys go into the real world and start their own brands and their own thing, but we realize what we've lost because you've spent every day with these guys, so they family.
Yeah. It's
So-
tough. But maybe it's less a thing of, yes, maybe you have lost this amazing person, but you've gained 3 years of
Yeah.
awesomeness with them.
100%.
And the world has gained a decent human being just by being those guys coming through these doors and working here. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome, man.
Yeah. So I think in wrapping up, what's out of your experience, out of your years of doing business, running family, running this, and to add some value to our listeners, I think there's a lot of value already been spoken. But what would you say to small business owners out there today that are listening to this, and how would you encourage them?
I think the biggest thing is to accept that you will fall every now and again. I was very, very hard on myself when I started with all these businesses, and every time something small went wrong, I was trying to figure out how can I avoid this, and you soon realize that you can't. So I think you put in the hard work, you realize that this is it's a long-term thing, and it's very much like that marathon, where you just have to realize it's not a short-term goal. You do the best you can with the 8 hours or the 9 or 10 hours that you've been given that day. And if you love something like the way we've loved this business, you'll never let it fail. You simply won't. And it's a simple thing like when you become a parent. You have got no clue how to look after this amazing little human being that you've been given. But will we ever let something happen to it? We won't. We will protect that with our primal instincts like you cannot imagine.
Yeah. Good.
And before your child is born and before your brand is born, you think, I know I've got 6 gears that I can operate. And then you find those extra gears and you're like, man, I didn't know I could,
I could do that.
I could do that.
Yeah.
But it's that instinct of I will make this work. And I think what you've got to do is you've got to try as much as you can in your life until you find out who you are and what you want to do and who you want to be. And once you figure that out, man, you don't let go of that for anything in the world. And
awesome.
And you just keep going. And you will not be able to fail at that because you will just love it that much. And that's what this has been to us.
That's awesome. So I was going to end there, but one more question. What is it that drives you to do this? I know you love it. I can see it. Like when you talk, the energy you give off. And what is it about what you guys are doing that keeps you going? What inspires you to do this? Beyond, I mean, money is a byproduct of what we do. But why this?
You know, we're in such an exciting industry. Eh? We deal with different things every day. And for me, I'm the kind of person that I need days to keep surprising me, because if they don't, I get bored very quickly with something, you know. And I think that's the problem. You reach a ceiling within something very quickly. Personally, that's for me. I need something that keeps changing. And what I love about this is we're dealing with products where I know what it felt like to come from a world without cell phones to where we are now. You know, mobile phones are everywhere, and experiencing that change was phenomenal, and it was amazing. And I feel like drones are at that place at the moment. When I see the good that drones are being used for, it really excites me to know where we're going.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about the drones that we fly for fun and these things. I talk about the commercial applications to see, you know, farmers that invest everything in their life into their crops. And with all the facilities now with drones and crop spraying and all these things that are available, they can focus on it so accurately that they can eliminate the small little surprises of life to a very large degree. And to see those people succeed in what they do brings enormous, you know, joy to what I do. And that's not talking about the search and rescue and the survey side. And there's so many good stories in what we do. And to see that we're right in the beginning stages of this, just for me is unbelievable. I mean, things change. We have 4 or 5 massive changes every year with the technology we work with. So if you imagine that over the next 10 years, it's unbelievable what's coming, you know. And I can't imagine my life without being involved with this ride, you know. So I've got to be there and see what happens.
Don't want to miss out, bro.
Never.
Major
Never.
FOMO. Major FOMO. Well, Jacques, thank you so much for your time and sharing your wisdom and your story.
Absolutely, man. I've loved this. I'm so glad you guys came to see us. I love what you guys are doing as well.
Cool.
And
thanks, man.
I think we spoke about this earlier. From the first post that you put up, I started liking it and I started cheering it. And I'm like,
even when I told you about it, you were like,
I like what this guy's doing. And you know what I think it is as well, is massive props to you, because I recognize why you do it. And that for me, we've got the same mindset with these things. You know, money comes and goes. We all need money. We love money. We hate money. Money it's like you said, it's a byproduct. At the end of the day, we've got to fill that tank inside us that makes us get ready for the next day and the next day. And if we've got something like this, like what you're doing, man, I can't wait to see where you go with it. So
thanks, bro.
I'm super excited. So thanks for involving us, eh?
Pleasure, man. Thanks for being our first official guest.
Oh, man, I've loved it, eh?
And maybe we'll catch up in the future.
Absolutely, eh? Let's see you when we've doubled the size of the store and we've got double the amount of happy guys running around here.
Let's do that.
It'll be so good,
and
man.
A few more shoots under our belt.
100%. I can't wait, man. It's just... Life is too exciting, eh? We take things for granted before COVID and hard lockdown, and it was such a nice reset just to say, remember the good times.
Remember the important stuff.
I was watching hours of hard drives, like footage of all the shoots and everything we did. So, yeah, man, it humbles you a little bit and makes you realize let's go after the right stuff in life.
Let's live to the fullest.
Yeah, 100%. But thank you, man.
Sweet, dude. Thank you.
Nice
and
to
until
nice
next
have
time.
you. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Cheers, eh?
Cheers.